Hello, I'm Johannes Motzke, and I'm with Blue Inc., where we expand potential, we envision purpose, we execute with passion. And I'm back again this week with a topic that I'd like to discuss with you along the lines of management. And if you've been following along on my blog a couple weeks ago, I talked about the tragedy of micromanagement. This is sort of a sequel to that, so I hope you find this interesting. I'm actually liking these videos a lot because I get to just talk and explain, express myself. Hopefully they're meaningful for you as well. I want you to be able to connect with me. And while I'm able to talk and express myself and really feel like we're sitting across from each other, it really still isn't the same because you're not there. So it would really help if you could give feedback and sound off on these videos. I did get a lot of good feedback for my last video and really enjoyed that, and this sort of pushed me to think beyond that, to think about this topic. One of the things I want to emphasize with these videos and with the stuff that I write on my blog, I do spend a lot of time, strategy, vision, and so on. Those are sort of the classic things that you would expect coming from a corporate consultant or strategy person that works in a business. I am really, really convinced, and I said this in my last video, that there is no line between business principles, personal principles, nonprofit principles. These are really, when you think about it, life principles that apply. They look a little bit different when we're working in an organization and when we have certain objectives. They look a little bit different when we're in a family or when we're in a small group. They look a little bit different when we're in a nonprofit, but these same principles apply, and I want to illustrate that and bring that home to you. So don't tune out if you think, well, I'm not a CEO, or I am a CEO and now he's talking about personal things. I think these are transcendent. And one of the goals of my blog is to really make that point. In my last video on micromanagement and the tragedy of that, you see here this illustration. I like to use these pictures a lot. And what I did was I tried to illustrate how when everyone moves down and focuses on operational tasks, what you end up having here is that the vision really doesn't get worked on at all. And that leaves the firm, that leaves a family, that leaves a group exposed for the long term. This is like saying, on a ship on the Titanic or whatever, why don't we all, furiously sweep the deck, get it all clean, and nobody's really steering the ship anymore. And, all of a sudden that catches up to us. That was the video a couple of weeks ago. Now what I want to talk to you about is another subject, though, that I see often in groups and companies. Matter of fact, I've worked with a company or with a group of people for a long time that had this, and it's called management paralysis. And I thought this framework that we've just looked at on micromanagement, and I encourage you to watch that video, really fits here on management paralysis as well. It's a little bit more involved, and I want you to follow along, but I think once you see it, you'll see how this happens a lot in other companies or in groups that you've been a part of as well. Here's how it works. All right, so a company grows, a group grows, things evolve, and what happens? There's a lot of work that needs to be done to make sure things down here are working appropriately. So, just as over on the left, management starts to sink down here a little bit and starts to work operationally. They have good people working for them at the next level down. So this is the top management, this is middle management, these are the people that are working on the bottom, right? So they have good people working for them here, and instead of just saying, okay, we'll just sink down to and start managing down here, they actually gravitate up. So I'm going to do this, right? So we actually have this. Now, what's happening? What happens when that happens? So in an organization now you have the middle management, which has moved up because they see that the upper management, the executives, are not really able to perform their function. These people have moved down a little bit because they see the need of doing things down here. Now you have sort of an overlap of the roles. So really neither thing, this is not getting done, right? So we've got problems here on the vision. And we have a gap here, right? And these people down here are not being managed appropriately either. We really are exposed now on both sides. And how does that look, right? So you sort of have a clumping up of management here. These are companies, these are organizations where every time there's another problem, we've got to put together a new committee. We've got to get another group of people together because the roles really aren't clear. We're all sort of on top of each other. We're in this web of overlap of roles. So everyone has a right to talk about everything and have an opinion about everything and say no to everything. So the best thing we can do is sort of to check and balance each other and create groups of people to address all kinds of things. It leads to paralysis, right? Things don't get done. The bureaucracy is fat here on the top. Things get bloated. More and more working groups, more and more administration. And really the tragedy of all that is that the work on both ends still is not getting done. And the answer to everything continues to be more of overlap of management. Now, what happens down here? At least over here, while still, we're happily managing along here in the micromanagement scenario, and all of a sudden things come to an end because we just have not anticipated the future and we're just going down the wrong track, but maybe well managed down the wrong track. Here, we're not managing well at all. People here start to say, this is chaos. Things don't get done. I'm not getting taken care of. There's no direction that I'm feeling here. So what happens? People leave. People here on this side will eventually leave because there's no future. But people leave here because they're just fed up and sick of all of the mismanagement. Things aren't directed. They see more and more bloatedness on the management side and less of their needs being taken care of day to day. So why does that happen? And I think there's 3 reasons why. Right? I think the first one is what we've talked about, the roles problem. Roles are not clearly defined, so they clump together. I think if we go back a little bit further, there could be another problem, which is, at one point, the company or the group was small enough that, you sort of had everybody involved. And so as the company grew, there was no need, and we're back to roles now. People did not see the need or did not catch the need quickly enough, didn't realize that they needed to separate things out. And I think the third one is people. You may have roles, but you don't have the right people that can fill them, so they can't gravitate towards the right place where they need to be and manage them. And so you may have the role defined, but the person is not able to do that and requires this level to come up and help them. That's typically a problem for executives in the firm. If they're not the right people, what ends up happening is the second layer has to come up and help them. That leaves this exposed down here, and these people are not being served. These people are not being served, and we have a doubling up here. The executives complain that they're being micromanaged. The people in the middle are complaining that they have to do the executive's job. You may have heard all of that before. Management paralysis. How does that look for you personally, maybe? And if I think of parents, or if I think of a small family or a group of people, this is the scenario where we're always planning, we're always setting goals, we're always doing things. But when it comes down to it, nothing really happens. Because we're all huddled up here, we're all huddled up in thinking, we're not really making any progress, so the vision isn't happening. At the same time, we're not managing appropriately, and it just leads to more and more of this administrative overload and paralysis. If you've seen that, think about, is it a factor of the organization needing to sort of catch up to itself and to realize that the roles need to be split? Is it because roles haven't been defined and you need to define who does what? Or is it because you have people that could be at the top of the company who are not fit for those roles and therefore sort of gravitate the rest of the organization up to them? Sound off, let me know what you think, and love to hear your comments.